Hello students and welcome to another GCSE Computer Science Theory lesson. This video is going to be on Unit 5, Bus versus Star Networks. So let's start off with a star network. Now you've already seen this example before. It is an example of a star network. It is characterized by having machines around the outside connected together by a central device or a central node. In this example we're using a switch. You may see the same topology laid out in this format in the exam. So rather than using symbols, we just use the generic term computer and the term central node. The reason why we use the term central node is because the central node doesn't have to be a switch. It can be either a switch or a hub. The difference between them you don't need to know about at GCSE level. So in most circumstances, we're going to be talking about the central node being a switch. Computer on the outside here, this could be referring to several different types of devices. So when we say computer, we don't necessarily mean a PC. We could be talking about a laptop, we could be talking about a smartphone, we could be talking about a printer, we could also be talking about servers. And let me demonstrate how this kind of model works in Microsoft Paint. So let's say that this PC A, I'm going to call it, wants to send a message to PCB down here. Well, first of all, PCA sends a message to the switch, and then the switch will redirect that message through to device B. This is a really fast way of doing things because we don't interrupt any of these other devices on the network, and it's also very secure because we're not sending our message to other devices. Everything just goes between A and B, keeping things nice and fast and secure. Okay, so here's a glance of advantages and disadvantages for you to add to your notes. So advantages of a star network: it can be more robust because if one fails, then the rest of the network still works. So going back to my paint diagram, let's imagine one of these cables accidentally got cut off or broke or pulled out of the plug. The rest of this network is still going to work just fine. We get good network performance, like I said, because information goes directly from machine to machine. And the security is good for the same reason, because information only goes from machine to machine. Disadvantages of a star network: it costs a lot of money and there's a reliance on the central node. The reason why it costs so much is because we've got a central node. But the central node alone is actually enough to say there's a problem with reliability. The reason is why is because, let's say this switch breaks, and by the way, this switch is referred to as a central node. If this switch breaks, then all of these computers can't work. So that's a bad thing in terms of networking, if none of our machines can communicate with each other. And going to how much these things cost, they can cost anywhere from £150 to £15,000. Don't ask me what the difference is between these two devices, because I don't know. I can only assume it's to do with performance, speeds and reliability. By the way, if you're interested, in a home network, you'll probably have one of these as your central node. So if you're with Sky, it'll be a Sky router. With BT, I think it's called the BT Home Hub or something like that. Okay, moving on, we're going to talk about bus networks. So it's quite different to a star network in the sense that we have no central nodes whatsoever, which is arguably a good thing because in some ways this is going to be cheaper to operate because we don't have to buy that expensive switch in the middle. So how do these devices communicate with each other? Well, it would be a lie if I were to say they communicate directly. So if I were to say these devices, let's say we had computer A up here and then computer B down here, if I said they communicated like this, that would be completely incorrect. This is not how a bus network works. This down the middle is a massive wire, sometimes referred to as the backbone, but you don't need to know that for GCSE. We've got this massive wire and we've got these other cables just wired up to it. Sometimes they're held together with tape, other times they're put in place with solder. It depends on the person who's installed it. So if computer A were to send a message to computer B, it would work a little something like this. Oops. could be a little something like this. There we go. Because everything is hardwired to each other, you send one message to one computer, it goes across the whole network. So this makes a bit of a security issue. This computer and this computer, they can see all of the information being transferred between machine A and B. This also causes a performance issue. Let's say computer A and B were talking. They were communicating with each other. But at the same time, computer C and D started communicating. Well, we're going to have a clash of information here. This machine and this machine, they're going to clash with this machine and this machine. There's going to be data all over the place, there's going to be errors, and machines are going to have to resend information. So there's going to be a massive performance hit from using this bus topology. Now some of you watching are wondering what this terminator thing is all about. All you need to know for the exam is that you have to have a terminator on your bus network. That's everything you need to know, is that you have to have a terminator there, and you have to know that it's called a terminator. The reason that we have one, it is to ground any electricity that we've got going in our network. It's to stop us accidentally blowing a fuse or shorting a circuit on one of our network cards. So it's just for grounding our electricity going through our network. If you're struggling to remember why, to put a terminator on the diagram, then just think of Terminator from that film. Get to the chopper. We've got to put the Terminator on the bus. Like this. Put a Terminator on the bus. You can't forget if you just imagine this. By the way, don't see Terminator Genesis. It's not a good film. You're better off missing it. Likewise with Terminator 4. That was a pretty bad film. You should probably skip that too. And Terminator 3. That wasn't so great either. In fact, just don't watch any of the Terminator films apart from 1 and 2. Oh, or that new one that's just come out. I say just come out, I think it came out last year. Terminator Dark Fate, that's really good. Watch that one. If you're old enough and allowed to, of course. Okay, so bus advantages and disadvantages at a glance. Buses are cheaper to install because we don't have that central node. And also we don't have to rely on the central node. Disadvantages of a bus is we have a reliance on the main cable. So let me go back into Paint. Let's say someone comes along with a pair of scissors and cuts that cable. Well, this network isn't going to work properly. We get poor performance in high traffic, and also the security is pretty poor because we're sending information all around the network every time we communicate. Now before you go, I just want to dispel a few myths. This thing in the middle, that is called the central node or the switch or the hub, nothing else. This is definitely not a server. I just want to make that really clear, because there's a couple of revision guides, textbooks and websites out there that say that this is a server. For example, Revision World. Yeah, look, they've got a picture of a server here for the diagram, and they also say that the central controller forms a... What? Central control? What is this? Yeah, just be careful when you're revising computer science or ICT online, because there is a lot of incorrect information out there.